Well, these tomatoes really needed to go out now. As you can see, I'm not wearing any big wool sweater, so here in May the weather finally turned warm enough to plant out. But the problem is, I got a greenhouse and some old and really bad styrofoam boxes. And in the winter I was lucky enough to find some nice wood. So tonight we're building some raised beds in the greenhouse as the tomatoes are longing to get planted out into the warmer weather. I'm very much a beginner in building structures like these, raised beds. But here on our little farm we have big dreams, and over the years we really want to build some larger structures. So I think doing something as simple as building raised beds in the greenhouse will give me some confidence and also some practical skills I can use to make much larger structures here. For example, a new greenhouse. The wood is second-hand, some of the tools are second-hand, and I pretty much just built it with the things I had lying around at the time. And I think that's probably how most people do it anyway. So the goal here is not perfection. The goal is to get something pretty sturdy, slapped together in the little time I have, that can hold all of my tomatoes. And I might have been a bit optimistic about how many I could fit into with this system. But let's get to work and let's see what I can get put together. This project really started when a family member rescued a pile of timber from a building site where he was building a terrace. The wood was far too good to become firewood, so he saved it for me instead. It's an incredibly dense and durable hardwood that should last for many years, even in contact with soil. Most of the tongue and groove joints were still intact, which made putting it together feel a bit like building with oversized Lego. Normally I'd throw open the barn doors for a project like this, but things are a little busier around here these days. We recently added a new batch of chicks to the farm, so the doors stay shut and the workshop became a bit more crowded than usual. Since the greenhouse is long and narrow, I decided to keep cuts to a minimum and build beds that followed the shape of the space. At around 80 centimeters wide and 30 centimeters tall, they should provide plenty of growing room without overwhelming the greenhouse. I've been told just how hard the wood was and that every hole needed to be pre-drilled. For that job, an old corded drill from my grandfather's workshop proved far more useful than the tools I had available. He passed not so long ago, but I imagine he would have been very pleased to see his old tools still hard at work. It was in fact so hard that the drill kept getting lost into the wood. But my grandfather's old drill did the trick. Timber was in fact so heavy that moving complete beds wasn't really an option. So I built them in sections inside and assembled everything in place using some equally well-laid scrap wood I've been saving for years. It's heavy work, but the wood is free, so that's a huge benefit. After a few evenings of building, it was finally time for the less glamorous part of the project, moving compost. Even at only 30 to 40 centimeters high, these beds held a surprising amount of material. So of course I decided to run a little experiment. One side of the bed is filled underneath with old straw, while the other side contains old logs before the compost layer goes on top. Whether the buried wood will provide any significant nutrients over time, I'm not convinced. What I do expect though is improved water retention and a healthier soil structure as everything slowly breaks down. Over the next few years we'll find out which approach works best. I've always tried to build projects like this using second-hand materials and resources that would otherwise go to waste. Luckily, the local recycling center produces far more green waste compost than they know what to do with. So with a few chips, using the trusty old trailer, I was able to fill the beds entirely for free. In previous years, I'd noticed that tomatoes planted deeply in buckets tended to outperform those planted shallowly in capillary boxes. So this time I laid the plants almost horizontally in the beds, leaving only the tops exposed. Well, the tomatoes are finally in. The raised beds are probably not totally level, but the tomatoes luckily seem to really not care a lot. This is about 2 weeks after they were planted out, and all of the tomatoes made it, and they have been growing like crazy. With the raised beds not being even, I think that is maybe just an aspect of this build. It doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be good enough that we can grow tomatoes in, and I can certainly already see that we're gonna have a good harvest. I think I definitely learned a few things that I can take with me to future projects, and probably also a few things that I will learn in about 6 months when maybe some of the pieces start to bend out of shape, but we'll see about it then. Also, one thing this has taught me is that this self-sufficient thing always seems to involve moving large amount of dirt or manure from one place to another. Usually in a wheelbarrow, usually with a shovel, and usually a lot more than expected. Still, the greenhouse feels completely different now that the tomatoes are growing. I also put in a ground covering of basil, and I also have some ginger growing, which I planted a long time ago now, and I'm really looking forward to see how much it will grow this year. If you would like to weigh in the comment section, I have also thought of another experiment in this experiment already. As the manure and in the dirt is so rich in nutrients, I really wanted to try this year to grow off 2 offshoots of 1 tomato and see if I could harvest of both of them. Normally you take all of the offshoots off and then only focus on 1 stem and remove the leaves in the bottom. But I'm not going to do it with all of them, but with a few ones that maybe have more space, I'm gonna see if I can do 2 offshoots and not break all of them off. So if you have an experience with that, or if you would like to weigh in on what the next video should be about, then please go about it in the comments. And as always, if you would like to keep us going here in Wool and Weeds and see more of what we do to live a sustainable life in the countryside, with the self-sufficiency filling almost every aspect of our lives, then please subscribe to the channel. Now, I think I'm gonna go and take all the offshoots off now, because they come every day, they grow like crazy. And then I'll see you in the next one.